Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday spot on the Pagan Perspective. This week we have a couple questions that come from Kayla H. And before I get into this, I do want to say thank you to Danny for covering for me last week. And you guys get to see her again next week because next week is subs week. So thank you, Danny, for doing that topic. I was moving stuff into my house here in New Jersey and still not settled. Lots of things going on. Anyway, this week we have a topic from Kayla H. Actually, a two-part topic. The first one, and it will all be in the bottom bar as per usual, says, I understand that not all pagans are magical practitioners, but for those who do practice, how do you deal with / educate those who believe it to be evil or negative? I had a former employer who claimed to be friends with a witch when she was younger and went on about how for a long time she didn't see the harm in it until later. She realized that it caused evil and negativity to not only her but her friends as well. She is now and has been a Christian since then. So, dealing with this topic first. So, you're always going to have those people that will label everybody like all witches are evil, or all witches have these negative experiences, or magic is inherently evil. So for those people, you're not going to change their mind no matter what you tell them. But I think getting away from the absolute terms, these terms of everything is absolute, all Christians are, and all Muslims are, all Jewish people are, all pagans are, all witches are, all magic is. Getting away from these terms of absolutes, I think, is the first step to actually explaining, hey, this is what I practice and this is what I believe. In this case, this former employer who was friends with a witch at one time, how much younger were they? Were they in their teenage years? Were they playing around? Were they just casting curses all willy-nilly and not thinking about outcomes? Doing any spell work without thinking of an outcome is, for me, incredibly dangerous. You can end up casting a spell and, oh yeah, it seems like it would be okay to do this. Like, it would be okay to cast a love spell, but what is going to be the domino effect of that? So yeah, I think that's the first step whenever casting any spell work, is to do some really heavy thinking into why you're doing this spell work and what the outcome is and how it's going to come to fruition. And if there's any blowback with it, what could be the blowback? Any repercussions or any negative outlooks or any negative ripples that come off of that big splash of energy being put out. What could be that negativity that comes back? So people that don't think about that during spell work or in the first steps of spell work, people that don't think of these things, I think, are usually the ones that have this negative outlook, like, oh, that must be that magic is all evil and everything. No, it doesn't. It's because you didn't think through things, therefore you had a negative outcome. You didn't think through the money spell that led to, somebody getting robbed and you getting, stolen goods or something like that. You didn't think through all this, and you probably didn't word your spell work in such a way, and you probably did not follow up logically with the follow-up steps of, going about doing your mundane work in line with your spell work, and you probably didn't follow all those steps along the way, so you probably had a negative outcome. And I'll put this into a real-life perspective, at least for me. Okay, say I do a money spell, and this is not a case that has happened for me. I just want to say that about stolen goods because I'm going to mention that again. So, say I do a money spell for money to come into my life. Okay, I I buy and sell things. I sell things online and whatnot. So I'm constantly buying things from people to turn around and sell it online. And so I cast this money spell. Well, next thing I know, this guy is coming to me and saying, hey, I have a lot of this, 24 karat Tiffany gold, stuff that needs to be sold online. Okay, or that you can sell and make money on. I say, okay, well, this must be my spell coming to fruition. Well, if I didn't follow up with the mundane work of saying, okay, is any of this stuff stolen? Where did it come from? Where did you get it? Then I could have stolen goods in my possession, and then whenever I try to sell it, it comes back on me and the negative outcomes that come from that. Accepting stolen goods, trying to basically be a fence for those stolen goods, stuff like that. So if I didn't follow up with the mundane aspect of doing my due diligence, I get in trouble. And I could be one of those people that say, oh, I did a spell for money and, it's all negative because I ended up getting locked up for, grand larceny or something. I don't know what they would charge me with, but I'm not a lawyer. But I got locked up because I was selling stolen goods. Well, that has nothing to do with the magic of it. That has everything to do with me not doing my due diligence and following up with the mundane aspect of it. So you see where I'm going with this. So people that say, oh, well, I knew a witch one time and they had such a negative experience with it. It could be that it just isn't for them, which is a logical outcome. You find something that is not for you, you practiced it for a little bit, and you found out, hey, not for me. Cool, okay, fine. You found Christianity, that's great, go for it. So that is the logical way of going about that. The illogical way is saying that all magic is therefore bad and evil and needs to, not be practiced. So, yeah, if we do away with this all or nothing concept, these absolutes terms that people have on certain groups or certain practices, we probably would do away with a lot of the needing to educate people on what our own practice is. That's not to say that, all of a sudden you say you're a witch and you never have to say anything about your practice. No, actually, it probably means the exact opposite. We would end up doing away with the negative aspects of it, though. People instead might come up to you whenever you say that you're a witch, and they might say, okay, what does that mean to you? What is it that you practice? And then you have an open dialogue to talk with this person about what your practice entails. In doing that, I just start at the bare basics of what they understand. Usually, if it's a Christian person, they usually understand the concept of prayer. So I put it in those terms of spell work being like prayer, and instead of this, you have this, and if you take it from a scientific aspect, you have this. So, explaining it in those simplified terms, and then adding on to it later, kind of like, a parfait has layers. Doing something in that way is a lot easier for people to swallow. They have it in small bites to swallow. So they can take that information a lot easier than, no, that's absolutely not even close to the way that I practice, and I've had nothing but good experiences, whenever all they know now is negative experiences had by somebody that they once knew that they knew. So anyway, long story short, let's get away with the absolutes and start seeing people as people, okay? So part number 2 that Kayla writes in is, how do you choose to protect yourself against / prevent negative entities? Whether it be in your magical practices or if you happen to enjoy paranormal investigating. I don't do any paranormal investigating. I do feel spirits here and there, but I don't necessarily go out of my way to investigate anything. So I'm just going to leave that lantern hanging right there. So let's see. Goes on to say, I feel that whenever it's talked about on paranormal TV shows, being a little bit dramatic with it, They know. But they tend to be, or lean more towards Christian beliefs and prayers. Very understandable. A lot of people can associate Christian beliefs and prayers into a form of protection. And if you are into hoodoo, conjure work, I believe Santeria, and not an expert on any of that stuff, studying conjure work some more and more as time goes on. But Santeria, I think, uses biblical scriptures and whatnot. But you see it in like conjure work and hoodoo and whatnot. So using biblical scriptures as a way of protection. So very good way, very valid way of protecting yourself. Me, I don't do a lot of protection work. I think I might do more protection work here in the coming weeks and months and years. Because I want to protect my assets. Again, I am having a home-based business. I sell things online. I have things coming and going at all times, and I want to protect what's here, including my money that comes in from electronic funds and whatnot. So I want to protect the money that's coming in, and I also want to protect it from going out as quickly. I don't want to hemorrhage that money away. So my thought process on this, talking in my terms, is if I do a money spell to bring money in and I sell things online and they go out, I want to not let that money go out with it. I want to keep that money here, protect it as much as possible so I can grow my nest egg, so I can grow my business, so I can grow me and have that security that I would like to have. So I can have the money drawing in, but not the money going out. So if I do that protection barrier that the money comes here to stay, or that it comes here to nest and to grow and then leave out in little spurts, if I do a protection spell that keeps it here, then I might do something like that. I also might do something that is more of like an anti-theft spell. So if I have people coming, if I choose to do Craigslist and Facebook selling and whatnot, and have people coming to my property, I might want to do a protection spell to work against people seeing this as a place to plunder. So what I might do in that aspect is do a barrier that kind of makes things look disinterested in to certain people. So they might come over and they might see, for instance, I have sitting next to me a mortar and pestle. So they might come over and see, oh, this is a nice mortar and pestle, I kind of want it. Instead of them seeing it as, oh, this is a really cool item that I would rather steal than pay for, instead of that, they might say, oh, well, it's not my style. Or I can do a protection spell that whenever they come onto the property, that their ill intent stays off of the property, but they can still come in. You see where I'm going with this? There's ways to play around with it. So if they come onto my property and want this mortar and pestle, which is not for sale, by the way, a latest addition to my witchy cabinet. But if they come onto this property and say, oh, I like that mortar and pestle, I kind of want it, they will be willing to, instead of pilfering it, they will be willing to pay for it. So little things like that. And you work with these spells as they either come into your life or as you see a need that arises. I usually don't see much of a need arising for different negative entities or energies coming into my areas. I really haven't had that. I've had very few experiences where somebody has sent something my way, any negative energy, period, coming my way. So I really haven't seen a need for it. Of course, whenever those needs do arise, I, go into action and combat those energies as well as I can to either negate them or to completely banish them from my areas. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So I think that's all that I have for this week. Yes, I need to shave. And yeah. I won't see you guys next week. So let's see. Following week would be the beginning of May, I think, right? Let's see here. One moment. Yes, I will be back on April 30th, it looks like. I think that's the Monday. So I will see you guys again the week after next. So thank you, Danny, again for taking over last week. It was a long day. So enough said about that. Until next time, may you guys have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.